And we are live. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends and strangers, what a day. Hope you're doing great. I'm here today with Marna Palmer. Just wave and say hello, Marna.
Hi, everybody.
And yeah, I think it's interesting to have an American that moved to Norway, and we're going to go all into that as well, I think. But yeah, just full disclosure, Marna is one awesome person who is helping me a lot lately with booking me for different speaking engagements, finding interesting people for me to collaborate with, and has helped me a lot, which is super cool. But you also have a very interesting background, way before Norway, way before Tai Lopez. I would just love if you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of ended up in Hollywood, first of all, and then let's go from there.
Yeah, sure. When I was 9 years old, I wanted to be an actor, so I asked my parents to get me an agent. And my acting teacher kind of crushed my dreams and told my mom that I was not ready for an agent. And so I decided I wanted to be an agent since I couldn't get my own agent. Right, exactly. I can come back and make myself successful. So as I got older, I went to college and majored in poli-sci. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to law school and become an agent. But then I went out to Hollywood to visit a friend who lived out there and was talking to a bunch of people. And they said, you don't need to go to law school. You can just come out here and get a job in a mailroom. So I packed all my stuff up. I drove across the country with my dad. I moved in with my best gay friend. And I worked at a doggy daycare, actually, for 6 weeks because I couldn't find a job. And then I got my first job in a mailroom in Hollywood. And that paid me, I think I made 15,000 kroner my first year.
15,000 kroner?
Yes, yes. It was very little money. So,
wow.
And I was in
horrible. And what did you do in the mailroom? I mean, for me, hearing somebody started at the mailroom is a typical cliche of a bad movie.
Yeah, it's like Entourage, except I didn't have anybody throw phones at me. Thank you.
Yeah.
We did a lot of pulling headshots, and we would fill in on desks whenever assistants to agents were out. That way we would kind of get to experience all parts of the agency, because the agency I worked at had motion picture and television, commercial, kids, voiceover, and hosting. So you kind of got to move around to all the desks and feel which one was the best fit for you. And for me, it was the commercial department because they promoted people the fastest and had some of the younger agents, whereas the TV motion picture side, everyone wanted to get into that because everyone comes to Hollywood to get into movies. And I was just like, I don't know, I'll do anything as long as I can become an agent and I can do it in a short amount of time. So I was an agent, but I moved out there when I was 23 and I was an agent a year later. I was the youngest person in my company to make agent. I've never worked so hard in my life.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, when you're on the desk, you're rolling calls, you're dealing with actors, you're coordinating schedules, you get casting and advertising people calling in and saying, oh, I need this kind of actor for this thing. Who do you have? And so you're selling clients and pitching them for auditions. And then you get the actor to the audition. And from there, the work is in the actor's hands. And then once the actor books a job, you negotiate their deals. So I was doing all that kind of stuff. And then I moved into the celebrity side, which was a lot more of big time negotiations, doing different advertising campaigns, including commercials, satellite media tours where they go on to the different talk shows and they say, hey, I'm promoting this new movie. And by the way, I'm working with Honda and they have really super safe cars. And that's why I put my family in one. So doing all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I mean, when you were in that space and you were kind of fulfilling your dream and becoming an agent, what went through your head? I mean, were you super happy and felt like you made the right decision, or did you have like second thoughts, or how was that?
No, I definitely had second thoughts. Once I became an agent, I kind of had this lull of, oh, that's it? This is what I'm going to do? Oh, I don't know if this is for me, because it especially when you get into the celebrity side, it's very glamorous and exciting, but you are dealing with people with Hollywood egos. They're making a lot of money for not doing much, and they aren't very grateful for it. You know, they'll go, oh, thanks, that's a nice job, but they don't really care that much because commercials are kind of the underworld of Hollywood. So I did it for 10 years because I wanted to be sure. Apparently I'm a very practical person and I needed 10 years to be sure. Yes, that it wasn't for me. So
okay.
you know, you're 25, you go through a quarter life crisis and go, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? What's the meaning for me? And I didn't find it in agenting, but I learned a ton. So pros and cons.
Okay, so
You know?
and can we maybe just talk about, I mean, I would love to know more about your experience there and your kind of view on Hollywood and all that glamorous stuff that looks very glamorous from the outside, but how is that inside?
It's interesting because everyone will say, oh, do you have horror stories about celebrities and blah, blah, blah. And I don't really. I have horror stories about celebrities' teams, because you get a team of people surrounding the celebrity. There's a bunch of agents, there's lawyers, there's managers, there's business managers, and you've got all these people surrounding the team. And the celebrity may not know how they're interacting with the buyer. So it was that was the toughest part for me to negotiate, to deal with, was that the people, I mean, everyone's out to cover their own ass. They want to make themselves look the best of the celebrity, so nothing's ever their fault. They're always trying to blame it on somebody else. So that's kind of where I saw the more ugly side of Hollywood, I feel like. I had some great experiences with some of the clients I represented. They were very nice. They liked what they were doing. They were grateful. They were respectful to people on set. So it was a different experience, realizing that it was the people around them that I didn't really like. Right.
Okay, and then you changed paths a little bit, I would say, but not like super much.
Yeah.
So what happened after you kind of realized after 10 years that maybe this Hollywood thing wasn't for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had transitioned. I was working as more of a talent consultant for the last 2 years, where I would work with one agency, but it was a more casual relationship, so I wasn't there full time. And I was teaching Pilates because I needed something that I loved and that I was passionate about. But I wanted to keep one foot in the corporate world. And then I had met Tai Lopez about 6 years ago at a party in Hollywood, and he's fascinated by Hollywood. So we always kept in touch, and he would say, oh, you should come work for me. You should come work for me. But I didn't really know what capacity I would be working for him. So we couldn't find a way to align until he launched his online programs that he's very well known for now. And so we just kept that relationship alive. I went to one of his conferences and was really interested in what he had to say and about being an entrepreneur. I didn't know anything. I thought, okay, I didn't go to business school. I could never start my own business. That's how you start your own business. You go to business school and that's it. And so I went to one of his events that he invited me to as a friend, and I just thought he was very interesting. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't as hard as I thought. I mean, it's still a hard thing, but you can do it without having that huge formal education. And in the US, I was looking at my friends in over $100,000 worth of debt from going to business school, so I knew that was never my way I was going to go. So he had said to me, again, come work for me. And he didn't really know what I'd be doing. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I was so desperate for a change that I said, okay, let's give this a shot. So I went to his company, and originally it started out, he was going to have me kind of doing more PR stuff where I could network with the celebrities that I knew and try to get him opportunities with them to create good content for all of his social media. And then I am just kind of a natural leader, and it was a very chaotic startup scene. So I came in and just started organizing things, and then I was like the third in command there.
Damn. Okay, so I want to just roll back a little bit. So Tai Lopez, from before he started doing the online thingies, what did he do, and how was he as a person then? And kind of, yeah, I'd love to get some more perspective on that, because for me, he's a bit of a mystery guy. I know him from the classical YouTube advertisement, but before he started all that, what did he do, and kind of what was his thing?
Well, he's very fascinated by data and numbers. So he got very into online marketing and using Google AdWords and stuff when it first came out. He was very good at it, and he had different websites that he worked with and did their marketing, and just started kind of learning the patterns and watching it and seeing what worked and seeing what didn't. And then he said to himself one day, how can I get paid to read? And I remember I was at his house before he started this whole thing. And he was walking me around, and we walked by one of these rooms, and I saw that there was a camera and some leather chairs. I'm like, what is this? He goes, oh, I'm making videos for YouTube. It's going to be so great. You know, people are going to watch, and I'm going to talk to them about the books I like to read. And it was at the time when YouTube had just first come out, and a lot of my clients were trying to make a living on YouTube. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, Tai, that's cute. You're going to make money on YouTube. And then lo and behold, he pops up on my YouTube like a year later with his Here in My Garage commercial. And I was like, oh, no. He is he is the smartest person I've ever worked for. The way his mind works and his ability to kind of look at what people want to see and want to see more of. And even if you don't agree with his message, he found a hook. and he found his thing that was going to define his brand and attract a certain audience, and it does. And he has been very successful doing what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so he started doing the in his garage things before you kind of started working with him, eh?
Correct. Yeah, he had been doing it for about 3 or 4 months when I joined the company.
Right. And I mean, at that point, was it very successful? What did he kind of sell at that point?
That was the 67 steps. And I think this might be a little bit more unique to the American culture because we love dreams and we love the idea that you can go from being nobody to being a billionaire living in the Hollywood Hills, you know?
Right.
So I think Americans are a lot more open to the idea of, okay, I can do this in a non-traditional way, or okay, if I just believe in it enough, then I can make it happen. And that's a little bit more accepted in our culture, I think, than it is than I've seen in the Norwegian culture. I know the entrepreneur startup scene has hit Scandinavia more in the past few years, and it's a bit of a lag from the US. So I think he learned how to tune into those cognitive biases, and he does. In what he teaches, it's very practical information. He just talks a lot around it. So sometimes I would get frustrated because he would talk so much and I'd be like, let's get to the point. But when he would tell me the lesson, I'd be like, okay. And there's so many things I still say, oh, Tai says this. Oh, I was telling my boyfriend today, the idea of short, long, where someone asks you a question and you start saying, well, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. And then here was the outcome, and here's the answer to your question. Whereas Tai would say, no, tell me the answer to my question first, and then you can tell me all the stuff behind it, but answer the question first. And I just find that such a better way to communicate when you're in a business environment, everything's, or even if you're just in a relationship or talking to your family and you just want to get to the point, it's very good to just say, oh, one thing and then the other. So he sold those mental frameworks really in a series of 67 videos. And he called it the 67 steps because apparently it takes 66 days to form a habit. 66 has that kind of devil association in the US. We have a lot of the religious right, so he added one step on.
Wow. Okay. So he was doing that, and when you stepped in, kind of what did you take charge of, and what kind of things did you introduce or contribute into that?
I introduced a lot of structure. Tai has been a lifelong entrepreneur and run his own stuff since he was in his 20s, and he has a very particular way of doing things, which is fine when you have a small team. But when you got up to, I mean, when I got there, we had 30 employees. At our biggest, we had 70. And right now, I think it was around 50 when I left. So it's a very different way to manage things. So yeah. I kind of took charge of getting the departments running, making sure they were communicating with each other, that people were having daily meetings, that we had more of a company culture, and that we had some kind of structure, because it's kind of like it's herding cats if you have a ton of people at a startup running around in a fast-paced business and there's no structure to it, you know? It's like when you have a dog, the dog does crave some kind of rules. They want rules, they want a pack leader. So I was one of the pack leaders that was very much interacting with customer support, the internet traffic marketing team, and with that, it was more about just making sure that they were functioning and communicating with Tais, because he was really involved with that team. The publishing department, I was in charge of the publishing department because I love words, I love writing. So I made sure that all the emails that went out didn't have grammar errors and made sense and didn't, contribute quotes to the wrong person and just all those kinds of things. So I wore a lot of different hats. When people would say to me, what do you do? I'm like, well, I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, I think the structure part is interesting, because I think that, or my opinion, I would love to have your opinion on this as well, but I think to be able to come to a certain point as an entrepreneur, you need a lot of chaos around you and just test a lot of shit. Yep. But then at a certain point, you need to, as you're saying, structure things and make things more professional. But I think that in order to get started, you need a little chaos. What do you think about that?
Definitely. And Tai is the king of experimenting. He's so good at that. And abandoning experiments quickly. We would always have different split tests going on with the site, or even just in the day-to-day practices. Okay, we're going to have the executives come in at 5:30 in the morning because it's better to get into the office before the rest of the team gets there, so you guys get 2 to 3 hours of work before the rest of the team gets there. So we would run all different kinds of experiments. Some things would stick, some wouldn't, but he would pivot very quickly. And I think that's what makes him a great entrepreneur. And I always say to people that I'm more of an intrapreneur. I like to work for an entrepreneur and have a little bit of the freedom and creativity that a entrepreneur has, but not so much of it. I need them to be a little bit more of the big picture, big vision idea person, and then tell me and I'll figure out how to execute it. So right. I think that's something unique to entrepreneurs, is that they're able to keep thinking ahead and not get comfortable. That's another thing that I think entrepreneurs are very good at. And Tai, it was never comfortable. It was always, okay, we are going and we are trying this and we're trying this and we're trying this, and everything's going to change constantly. That's the only constant.
We got a question from Lena. Since you mentioned structure, how did you know where to start in order to kind of structure what you were doing, and how did you know how to prioritize the tasks that needed structure?
Good one. The beauty of checklists. I think checklists are super important. And the biggest thing with a checklist is kind of writing it the night before. So you're done with your day, thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, and then writing down everything you need to do and prioritizing it. For the how did I know where to start, I tried to look at the things I would do. I would do it one of two ways. First would be, what's the hardest thing, the thing that I'm dreading doing the most? Let me put that at the top of my checklist. Just do the first thing tomorrow when my brain is fresh. Because if you put the thing you hate kind of in the middle or at the end, it's very easy to put off till the next day. And also the things that were the biggest monetary value. Like if I was figuring out what we were going to do about lunch for the employees, that can go low on my priority list versus getting the email edited and written and edited that was going to be sent out to 450,000 people on the mailing list announcing our new program. So I looked at what would bring more value to the company and try to put those things first and balance them along with the things I just hated doing.
I think that's a great point. And I also think that, I mean, I'm a big believer in energy management more than time management, and definitely doing the hardest lifts and parts as early as possible and before anyone else kind of ruins your list by opening the emails and stuff. So I agree on that. Any particular software you use for doing tools or to-do lists and stuff? I'm guessing.
Honestly, I had a yellow legal pad I carried around with me everywhere, and that was my favorite way of doing it, because when I wrote it down, that kind of cemented in my brain what I needed to do the next day. Versus if I just put it into my computer, I can kind of space out on it a little bit. I mean, we did everything on Google Docs, and we did a lot of our company work over WhatsApp. It was very easy, especially when you've got a lot of companies working remotely. I know Slack is the more popular thing that people choose right now. WhatsApp, I did like, because I was able to leave voice memos. So if I'm walking from one meeting to another, or I need to be offsite, or I'm traveling with Tai, I can leave a message and then my team can see it and everybody can see it in the chat. I think that the downsides to those are it's very easy to ignore chats sometimes. You know, it goes, oh, sorry, it was in the chat and I missed it. Whoops. Versus when you talk to somebody in person. But it was very effective, especially when we started traveling a lot, of how to communicate with the team and make sure that everybody was on the same page. Everybody knew what was going on. People were seeing the task list, and just that we could all stay in touch.
Right. How big was the team at that point?
It hovered mostly around 50 people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. I told my mom, I said, I now understand why you hate this. Why, when we were kids, you told me you hated the sound of your own name, because I just constantly had people. Oh, my name. None of you can call me that anymore, because there's just so many people to keep an eye on.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So you worked for Tai for a while, and again, guys watching, please drop questions in the chat if you're wondering anything. But before we kind of move to after Tai, I would like to just know some kind of key points or things you felt that you learned and you think that you can use going forward working for a person like that, and maybe some key learnings if you have any pops up.
I think working for a person like that, you can't be sensitive. It was not a personal. I am not a person full of emotions. So when he would talk to me and tell me to do something, if he didn't tell me in a flowery, super nice way, it didn't throw my day off. And I did see that with a lot of people in the company. that they want to be coddled, and it's like, oh, let's talk about how you feel about this. And sometimes when you're in business, you just got to keep moving, take the instruction, and run with it. Also having initiative and not being afraid to identify a system that's not working and go, I don't think this is working. Let's do it this way. And coming up with solutions when you have a complaint about things, instead of going to your manager or going to your boss or going to the founder of the company going, I don't like the way this is we're doing this. I don't like the way it's working. Coming to them and going, okay, so this, I've put place structure A and structure B in place because structure C isn't working and I don't like structure C. So I start with the solution, and then they're much more likely to listen to me versus if I come to them and talk about some kind of complaint that I have. Also not being afraid to try new things. I mean, Tai put me on the phones doing customer support. He put me on the phones doing sales. He put me in the internet traffic department. He put me in the publishing department. He put me on camera. I did kind of everything. And I am very stubborn and have a very hard time with change. So this was really hard for me, but it was a really good experience for me to get.
I see. We got another question from Irina that says 50 people is a lot. Some were disciples, volunteers. Maybe, what kind of structure was those 50 people?
No, it was all hired employees. He did hire people from his fan base sometimes but they would go through the same interview process. It was never just, oh, I'm a big fan, can I work for you? They would have to go through all the same, like we did personality tests, we did cognitive tests, we had 2 or 3 interviews. So it was a rigorous system, but it was customer support was always our biggest because you've got this website that's got a lot of users. We've got people all over the world. So we had a very large customer support team. I want to say 15 people, between 15 and 20 people at any time. Our sales team was about 10. Our traffic team was about 10. Our publish team was 5. And then there was kind of the personal assistants, PR kind of people that was around 5 also.
Okay.
And finance also. Yeah.
Huh. And I've seen, so how Norway is a random place to end up, right? And I know that Tai does he have an apartment here, or he's been here a couple of times?
Yeah.
What's his relationship to Norway, and kind of how did you end up here?
Yeah, Tai goes through phases where he wants to do one thing and then he gets really excited about it, and that's kind of what energizes him and helps him create and gives him better vision on his company. And one of those things was travel. So he had spent time in Sweden and Norway when he was younger and really liked it. He liked how clean it was and outdoorsy, and just the people were nice, and it was just a beautiful place to be. So he wanted to come back here. So when he started, because prior to my coming here for the first time, he had a year where he didn't want to go anywhere. He just wanted to stay in his house. He wanted to be able to have time to think on the weekends. He didn't want to travel even to San Diego. And then one day he woke up and was like, I want to go over to Europe. So we went to Sweden, then we went to Norway, and I think he just had a really good time here. He really likes the food here. He thinks the food is very fresh, and he thought the people were smart, and he thought it had great scenery. So he decided to keep coming back and forth, so he got an apartment here. And then for a while, we were thinking of opening an office here because of the time difference between Norway and LA. When LA was going to bed, Norway could take over on like the customer support chat, and then we would have people there around the clock able to answer questions. But then he realized how expensive Norway is to employ people and said, you know what, maybe not.
Yeah, okay, cool. And you know, then you went to Norway as well, and kind of you stayed behind eventually, but what made you decide to switch sceneries, literally? Yeah.
Well, I had been in LA for 12 years, and I was just kind of tired of everything. I was frustrated by the traffic. I was frustrated by the people. I was frustrated by the cost of living. I was tired of spending so much time in my car, and I had been looking to leave LA for about 3 years. But I had a really good job. I had friends, so there was no compelling reason for me to leave. And then I came to Norway, and I just fell in love with it. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was much quieter, much calmer. There's a better work-life balance here. There's less emphasis on reality, whereas LA, that's such a huge focus. But everybody is doing okay, and people care about people around them. It's not as much, why should I pay for your health insurance? You don't pay for, I don't need mine, so I shouldn't have to pay for yours. So just that feeling of community. And I just really liked it. And I saw places and opportunities where I could bring kind of the knowledge that I have to Norway and help them expand their brands, people like you, and marketing, any kind of content marketing. So I just started hustling, and then I found a job here.
That's awesome. We got another cool question from Skav Helen. He says, how can an expert that is just getting started get more visible, get invited to podcasts and conferences around the world?
Oh, that's a good question. Thomas can probably learn some insight to that too.
Yeah, but I'd love your perspective first if you have any, or I can go first if you want to.
I mean, I think if you're an expert, one thing is establish what you're an expert in, because it's these people who try to, whereas I did everything at Tai's company as an expert, I wouldn't work as well. You need to have a niche. Like Thomas has Facebook advertising, Tai has marketing, social media, entrepreneurship. So he has a little bit broader of a niche, but whatever. And then just start reaching out to people. The more people that you invite to collaborate with you, and if you flatter them, I would start by positioning yourself with, okay, can I interview you? Can I interview you? And then you stay in touch with them. And as you grow, then hopefully they invite you back. But it's a lot of reciprocity, and people like talking. They like talking about themselves. And just trying to get the more high-profile interviews that you can land, and you can say to other people, oh, hey, I've talked to Thomas Moen, I've talked to Tai Lopez. When you get those kind of interviews, then that will help also build your profile and build your authority bias. But you would be surprised how easy it is to get in touch with people if you just start Googling and going on their website and sending things to their through their contact tabs. I mean, I get so many responses when I'm reaching out about Thomas and when I'm reaching out about Tai. And I understand those are more established names. But when Tai first started, he wasn't. He just started asking people. He's like, let me talk to you. And he knew how to talk to people and get them to talk about themselves. He became a person that asked interesting questions, and the people he was talking to would recommend him to their friends. Because if you find one person that's successful, and then they'll start asking their friends, saying, oh yeah, you should talk to this guy, you should talk to this guy. And then people start looking to you as this person who can get other people to talk to them and becomes a bit of an expert.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a great point, because I think a lot of people are just kind of, oh, it would be so cool to reach out to this person or do that thing. But actually doing the work and asking and also taking the time to try to understand that person and their perspective on what they would find valuable is something most people don't really take the time or work to do, I think.
Yeah. And I would keep reading books and keep educating yourself and just create content. You've got to create so many videos and blogs and post it to your LinkedIn and post it on Twitter and post it on Medium and go onto Quora online and answer lots of questions on your niche. And then you've got all these different sources you can point to going, look, here I am on Medium, here I was on this. And that gives you more credibility as you're making relationships too. But it's all about networking and just doing as much as you can.
Absolutely. Okay, so can you tell me maybe a little bit about what you're doing now and kind of what you're helping me with and kind of what your focus is these days?
Yeah, I'm working with a company called Hero's Journey. We're a communications company. We work with influencers like Thomas. I also work with another influencer here called Ronnie Odom. He's a party and event planner. And we help develop their businesses. We want to look at it beyond what's the obvious thing. Like Thomas can go to keynote speeches, which I'm working on him with, and trying to expand your international presence. So it's a bit twofold. It's expand the international presence, obviously, because I have a big network in the US, and develop businesses. So how can we make, Thomas and I talk a lot about how can we make his programs better? What new things can we add into it? Who are some entrepreneurs I can introduce him to help make his program stronger? Because that's the same idea. I'm introducing Thomas to other experts in the US, and that helps build his profile as well. And identifying different opportunities to develop businesses. For instance, we're working on a fitness program called Fight at Home that's associated with Jack Hermanson, one of Norway's biggest MMA fighters. And hey, Ken, I saw a comment pop in. So we're working on that program, and that's going to help Jack kind of expand beyond just fighting, getting paid to fight. We also do different kinds of marketing, creative marketing for companies. We're working with a fashion company to help bring marketing to their customers, and Thomas is working with us on that. So it's a little bit of everything. And then I'm also working with some friends here, trying to help them expand their businesses. It's more in the restaurant space. That's kind of a new project, a side project that I'm working on right now, doing different kinds of content marketing and just teaching them how to bring more people through their doors.
Cool. Okay, a few more questions from me, and also, gang, if you're watching, ask questions and we'll try to answer them. I think it's great that people are so interactive actually in this live show. That's great. You talked about networking, and I think Skavhelen's question about how to get invited and stuff is a part of that. But you have a very wide network, and I mean, what's your best practices for networking and connecting with people? So, of course, as you mentioned, giving them compliments and actually knowing what the fuck they're doing,
right.
and have some kind of social proof. That's fine, but I mean, from scratch, how do you network?
I've actually been using LinkedIn a lot and emailing and approaching people on social media also. Those are two ways that I use to connect with people and compliment them on what they're doing and having genuine questions to ask. I mean, I also try to find people that I want to talk to. If it's someone who's in the transportation industry, I'm not that interested in the transportation industry, so what am I going to talk to them about? So whenever I find a person, I try to find something interesting. I try to make sure it's related to stuff that I'm doing. And I like to talk to them about them. They will tell you a lot about themselves. And when you talk to them about personal things, it will, oops, sorry, my dog is barking. We will open up other questions. Yes, thank you. It's okay. It will open up other avenues of thought and other ways that you can figure out how to work together. And then just trying to give as much as you can. You and Gary talk about that a lot, and that's a great way to do it, is offering up, oh, here, I know a person that works in, I don't know, wine and food, so let me introduce you to that person, and maybe you guys can do something together, because they'll remember you if you do something for them.
I think that's a great point. Do you, I know some people do this. I don't do this because I think it's kind of weird, but do you keep like a list of your top contacts and when you got in touch with them and kind of, do you do that kind of stuff?
I definitely have spreadsheets. And
you do?
Sometimes, yeah. And sometimes I'll write down like things we talked about too. So I know like, oh, this guy's a Patriots fan. I shouldn't email him the day after the Super Bowl in the US and go, ooh, sorry about that loss, you know? So I do have little nuances that I will
I was expecting you to do that. And I think it's a smart way of doing it, but for me, it feels maybe it's a Norwegian thing. But okay, yeah. So you have a spreadsheet and you try to kind of note down. Do you also kind of last point of contact, all that jazz as well? Or
yep, what we talked about and what the email was and when I should follow up. And if there's an alert on my phone, like in 3 months, oh, follow up with so-and-so because he was talking about a coffee bar that he's opening, whatever. I put that in there as well.
Wow.
If anyone's looking for a great book, my favorite book on networking, and which kind of changed my whole perspective of networking, is called Never Eat Alone. And it is, I love it.
I am as well. I'm going to book and never, I'm going to eat. I'm going to put it in here as well so they can see. Okay, that's great. Okay, that's cool. Irina has a question. How did you deal with stories, gossip around Tai? I think that's an interesting question.
It is, and it comes in other businesses too. I think, like if you work for Jeff Bezos or something, you're always going to be hearing stuff when there's somebody very successful. For me, it was asking myself why I was working for him and what I believed in about him. Now, when outward facing, I would say, yeah, people are going to talk. I mean, Tai was not afraid of his haters. That was one good thing. Like he didn't ignore them. He talked to them often on social media. So we always acknowledged it. We were like, yeah, there's people who don't like him, but people don't like, pizza. So if you don't like it, you don't have to pay attention to it. And if you don't like him, you don't have to pay attention to him. I liked working for him because I learned a lot from him. There were things he did that I agreed with. There were things he did that I didn't agree with. So I was able to balance both of those for me personally. But outward facing, I supported my boss. He was who I worked for. And I just had to deal with the haters, and we just didn't make a big deal out of it and some of it was funny. I mean, some of the parodies they would do about him, we thought were hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, if something particular happened or some big piece of criticism, did he kind of address it to the team, and did you guys discuss it, or did you just kind of go with the flow with it?
No, because the main thing that he got was the, oh, Tais is a scam, Tais is a scam. And we heard it so often, and we saw so many people that he helped, and we had people come to his house, like his mastermind groups, and we had testimonials because we were talking to customers every day, that we knew that there were enough people out there who believed in what he was doing and understood what he was about and got his message, that we were just like, okay, there's going to be those people, knock yourself out. We know they're not a scam. We always refunded anybody who wasn't happy in the programs, because if you're in the programs and you're not happy, why would we not want to give you your money back? Because we want you to be happy, A, and we also don't want you in the program talking shit about it or talking shit to everybody else. So why not just get rid of those people? There was enough other people, and Tai would always look at it as, you know, there's one person paying money, there's going to be another person down the road that I'll find who actually believes in it and believes it's worth the money that they're paying. So it was kind of it was definitely a thing we were aware of, but it wasn't a traumatizing thing by any means.
Cool. Okay. So you've seen a lot of entrepreneurs. You networked with them. Kind of, do you have some general advice to young, hungry girls or boys that kind of they should think about when they're trying to build their empire?
Don't be afraid of hard work. That is something. I've never worked so hard as I did for Tai and Hollywood. I mean, those were my two. I used to work for the government and as a Pilates trainer, whatever. I worked incredibly hard for them. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out. Always keep educating yourself. Those are all, I feel like, kind of token things. I'm trying to think of what my deep insight would be. Yeah. I think one thing that I really like, being able to look at things around you and being really aware of what the trends are and what people are doing, not necessarily what they are saying. Gary Vaynerchuk says that a lot, actually. He says, don't look at what I'm saying, look at what I'm doing. And when you're looking at people's behaviors, like when you saw, like when people started getting on Tinder and they would analyze just what you were doing, and it was a kind of a weird thing at first, but somebody found a hole because you were like, how can I find people near me that I could go on a date with, that I could quickly interact with? I don't have to pay $30 to get and exchange a bunch of emails. Just want to be able to chat with them easily because life is fast, life is moving quickly. How do we do this? So they were able to identify that niche. And that was, I'm sure they were sitting around talking with their friends going, God, I wish I could just easily meet a girl without going to a bar tonight. So when you can identify, I think, those kind of holes in the landscape, that can help you figure out what it is you want to be doing. And also, don't do something unless you're passionate about it. I've met some people where I talk to them, oh, why did you choose to do this? Oh, it seemed like a cool way to make money, you know, and that's just a dumb reason to get into anything. You're not going to stay passionate about it. You're not going to want to work hard enough about it unless you're like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to wake up every day and do this. I want to wake up every day and sit on my couch and with my dog and write blogs. And then I'm going to want to travel the world with my dog and tell people how they can travel with their dog easily and what the most dog-friendly hotels are. There you go. You're passionate about something. Stick with that. Don't just go, oh, I'm going to do Bitcoin because it seems cool. You know, I think you have to find something that really resonates with you.
And what's your main passion then?
Sitting on my dog with my couch.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
For me, it's more the written word. I do really love making content, so I kind of do that on the side. But I also really like developing other people's businesses. I like finding, I like taking people like you who have an idea already, and then I can go, oh, here, let's do these other things around that idea, so that you have the big picture vision, and then I can help support that.
You're really good at helping people, so thank you for that. That's
well, thank you.
Okay, cool. I don't think I have any more questions for you. A lot of fun. It's you guys watching don't know this, but I literally sat down exactly when we had. I was delayed, but because of traffic, so it was fun. It was good. It was good. I like it, and a lot of good questions as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, where to find you? Hero's Journey. Just Google that or Marna Palmer, and that's kind of where you find.
I just changed my Instagram name today actually because I saw Hello Vikings on your Insta story, and I was like, maybe I should make this a little more on brand. So it's now at Hello Marna on Instagram if you want to find me there. I'm also on Facebook, Marna Palmer. Look me up on LinkedIn. However you want to connect with me, I'm open. Awesome. Yeah, I do. LinkedIn, I think, is probably the best right now. LinkedIn is very trendy these days. Yeah. Cool. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Marna. And see you soon. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.